I got some problems. I got some problems.
Thought
Yeah. I got some problems. I got some problems. I got some problems. Yeah. I got some problems. I got some problems. I got some problems. Yeah. Goddesses be taking me hostage on odysseys. Pardon me, I got a little bit plastic, faster than normal. Call it a ting. Hopefully this nigga will warn you. First let me warn you. I got a problem with ignorance. Tis why I burn the bridge or just swim. If it's me versus them, it's gonna be them. Cause I've learned enough to know how to win. Pride highs, the tide rise. Trying to reach Pacific Rim. What lies beneath the lines then? Is a devil that lurks in sheepskin. Who show more teeth than a wolf grin. Still got cold feet or you gon' dive in. Life's a movie, drive in. Drop top, let's begin. It could be me and you, or me, you and your friends. Now we up in the Ritz. Started off at the Days Inn steak, cheese, eggs, and grits. Something like for Tuesday, slim black sweats with some gray Timbs. Raider hoodie, Marshawn Lynch. You gotta alienated the alienation, and if it's war of the worlds, call me Vader Zim. Y'all done alienated the alienation, and if it's the war of the worlds, call me Vader Zim. Cause goddesses be taking me hostage on odysseys. Pardon me, I got a little bit plastic, faster than normal. Call it a tick, hopefully this liquor will warm you. First let me warn you, I got a problem with ignorance. I got a problem with ignorance. I got a problem with ignorance. I got a problem with niggas sis. I got a problem with all of that coming that swans us. Like we all just content be a nigga rich. Motherfuck you with kinda ain't no fictional construct enough to uplift my physical conduct. When it still ain't fixed to do the water up and flow. Nigga, I got a problem. Yeah, yeah. I got a problem. Yeah, yeah. I got some problem. Yeah, yeah. I got a problem. Yeah, yeah. Goddesses be taking me hostage on odysseys. Pardon me, I got a little bit plastic, faster than normal. Call it a tick, hopefully this liquor will warm you. First let me warn you, I got a problem with ignorance. I got a problem with ignorance. I got a problem with ignorance. I got a problem with niggas sis. I got a problem with all of that coming that swans us. Like we all just content be a nigga rich. Motherfuck you with kinda ain't no fictional construct enough to uplift my physical conduct. When it still ain't fixed to do the water up and flow. Nigga, I got a problem. Yeah, yeah. I got a problem. Yeah, yeah. I got some problem. Yeah, yeah. I got a problem. Yeah, yeah.
Thought crimes.
Purported, 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 purported. This is First Shot, and welcome to Purportedly. Racism does exist. You know that. I know that. Hell, even Molly knows that. Now let's get that out of the way, and let's talk about our pants. Now you must be asking, what do I mean by pants? I'm talking about pulling all pants up. We can't always go after white people when we treat ourselves a certain way but not pulling up our own pants. It's been purported that black Americans pull up their pants less than white Americans. Now we gonna get to Daniel later. We're gonna get to him. We're gonna get to Daniel Snyder. But I want to focus on the purported reports on the black NFL players. When we show up to work late, and it's been purported that we've been on the weed, that does not make us look good in front of white America. That doesn't make it look good for me. And you know, on this show, I tell y'all the truth. Now I understand that there can be racism against the collectiveness against black people. But one black person can make us all look bad. If you show up to work late and it's been purported, we all look bad. I understand that there can be racism against the collectiveness against black people. But one lazy black person can make us all look bad. If one black person is late and it's been purported, we cannot call that racism. You heard that? I said racism. If Pookie on the block did not show up for work, we cannot purport that it's racism. They may not like you. But we know ESPN loves me. Now, if Pookie on the block is late for work, and it's been purported that he has a history of tardiness, that is not racism. If a white person just don't like you based off of your personality, and it's been purported that they have a good record on other groups, including black people, then you may be the problem. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. It's not racism if I didn't see it. Did they purport it as racism? I didn't see the purports. So how do I know that it's true? Point the camera towards me. Point it towards me. And I want to say this to white America, as a black man, that if I wake up and I am focused on making money, focused on making my bosses richer, so I could get a piece of that pie, that means that all people want this. I wake up every morning thinking, how much more money can I make with my bosses? How much more can I massage their balls? And I know that there are other black Americans out there like me, white America, that do not want any problems. We just want to make money like anybody else. And that has also been purported. So that's what I want to say to my white brothers and sisters out there. This doesn't mean it has nothing to do with all of you, because I know the majority of you are good. But it's been purported that black people want to make that dough. And we know ESPN is paying me well. Paying me damn good money. Okay, good. On this episode of Purportedly, and my documents, which I call the purporticles.
Warning. The Federal Communications Commission has determined the following content to be emotionally harmful. Snowflakes should not view this content under any circumstances, even if supervised by a G.I. Joe, Navy SEALs, Army vet, or someone with good common sense. The views and opinions expressed, including the depictions of persons of color, corrupt politicians, white people with or without a tan, haters who have yet to brush their teeth typing angrily in the comment section with hot breath syndrome, do not reflect any official policy or position of the U.S. government. This program contains graphic language, dark comedy, unique intelligence, creativity, a high credit score, and high blood pressure when triggered. This program has also been accused of racism, violence, misogyny, mansogyny, feminism, MGTOWism, defacement of celebrities, and of course, being a bully. Welcome to Thought Crimes.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Thought Crimes. This is your girl, Sincere, and I'm here with...
Yo, what's up, everybody? Good morning. This is your man, P Solo, back touching down on the ground. Once again, I hope you guys are doing very well, and I apologize for whatever reason it got set off about an hour. So, no, we're starting at 8:15 every morning, Monday through Thursday.
Yes,
at the very least, 8:30 if we're doing any post-production. Because sometimes, sitting out, we slide things at the last moment too, by the way, some animations and things of that nature.
You never know when Mr. Z or Jack Milton or whoever is going to pop up and
Sin
pop out.
said, nigga, it says 8:30. No, she said it says 9:15.
I said, what the fuck is this? 9:15.
But anyway, there was nothing I could do.
Money, clothes.
Cars and clothes. Yeah, I couldn't do anything at that point. The black woman caught me. So I would have tried to lie, but there would have been no point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, shouts out to you all that decided to slide in this morning, too, by the way. Yes, we're going to be talking about Hayden Panettiere and, her untimely death, but we're going to be delving more so into what went on with the Hollywood industry things she had been alluding to. Oh, nasty ass James Blunt. I never trusted the guy, but again, those are her words versus his. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about hip hop media agent SMITHS first, and then the LeBron and Kobe switch. And I did have a couple of you all say, hey, TC, P Solo, Sin, did you guys get a chance to see what Dr. Umar Johnson discovered? I said, and I went and watched, shouts out to Art of Dialogue. He does a fantastic job. But Umar Johnson, I said, hey, brother, they said that when Kobe's chopper went down during COVID, right before COVID.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but Umar Johnson did not come up with that prediction. We did do research just to double check, and, Art of Dialogue has a great platform.
Yes.
And Prince research, he looked, and Umar Johnson didn't say nothing that people weren't saying already.
Yeah, you remember
even when Kobe first died,
they were already saying it.
They brought up the theory and prediction of the Kobe and LeBron switch.
Yeah,
and,
you remember around the time, even when he passed Kobe's all-time scoring record, remember they had the whole conspiracy because the next day Kobe Bryant had passed over.
It was that guy on YouTube and also Twitter who do gematria.
Yeah, gematria. Yeah, no. Then they said that LeBron James had stepped on the head of the snake in Philadelphia 5 times before he hit the final 3 to pass Kobe Bryant, and then the next day Kobe Bryant died. Yeah. So that wasn't necessarily new. I mean, maybe for some people, Umar Johnson is bringing fresh information to them, but they've been cracking on this since Carl Jones's The Legends of Wilt Chamberlain Heights. Yep. Chamberlain Heights, when the Kobe Bryant, a character of Kobe Bryant crashes, and then 5 rings fall out, and then somebody said, hey, Kobe, pass me the trophy, and he said, pass, and then he exploded. So this theory has been floating around for about 6 years now.
You got to remember, I'm not accusing Umar Johnson of doing this because I don't know if he did it or not. Maybe he thought he discovered something, but a lot of times people recycle theories and stuff from people on the internet, on social media, and sometimes people try to claim it as their own predictions, and that's just not the case. And we're also going to be talking about that in hip-hop media. It's very important that people talk about the Agent Smiths in hip-hop media. And also, personally, too, before we even get into it, I see a lot of people trying to be knockoff Prince Solomons, from my personal opinion. For example, Prince has talked about a lot of things and predicted a lot of things in hip-hop industry and media. And a lot of people have been biting off of his theories, stealing his theories, trying to pretend that they're Prince Solomon. Now all of a sudden people want to rage against the machine in the industry. But y'all niggas was kissing all these industry media platforms dick. Y'all wanted to be over there with Genius. Y'all wanted to be over there on Complex Magazine couch and all that. Some of y'all cry when y'all don't be on the Complex list. So a lot of people now, after they tried to be on industry platforms, after they tried to cozy up to Complex and all these other entities, now y'all want to be edgy because y'all finally realize that these are gatekeepers. This is what Prince and I have been talking about for a really long time. There's gatekeepers. They're trying to gatekeep the alternative scene. And unfortunately, you do have some people in the independent space and hip hop media who steal other people's theories, or they'll listen to people's live shows and take their talking points and then turn it into a singular monologue for their channel to get views because they want to impress Kendrick Lamar, because they want to impress Drake, because they want to impress Jay-Z, or they want to get the attention of these artists even if it's in the negative or the positive. So a lot of people got to stop the cap. Even the people who are, some of the people complaining about Mark, y'all doing the same shit that Mark Robson does, or whatever the fuck his name is. Lawsuits people cherry pick. Kendrick got a lawsuit right now. It could be nothing, but nobody's going to really talk about it because people cherry pick who to talk about. If Drake has a lawsuit, whether it's fraudulent or not, only certain media platforms are going to rush to talk about it because they want to impress people who are anti-Drake. If same thing with Kendrick, same thing with Jay-Z and all that. You know, most of these people don't talk about the executives behind the scenes. They're afraid to touch on Live Nation. What's going on even with Dua Lipa and all these other Live Nation is doing the takeover and destroying music. People quiet about that. They're quiet about executives who have had allegations of sex trafficking. So even in the independent scene, unfortunately, many of them are trying to impress people in the industry or trying to catch their attention by also trying to sabotage or steal from other independent creators. And we see this all the time. For example, everybody know nobody in hip hop was talking about the alt-right or alt-left in hip hop. It was quiet in hip hop media on that. No one talked about it. Prince and I talked about that for years. And then when people wanted just to make it seem like Drake was only MAGA or alt-right or something, they twisted our video just to make it an attack campaign on Drake when we weren't just talking about Drake with Hell's Angels and stuff when we broke certain information. We was talking about Snoop Dogg and people in general and how people in hip-hop, they're switchblades. They'll hang out with people who are Hell's Angels. They'll hang out with Black Panthers. They'll hang out with Zionists. They hang out with people who are anti-Zionists. They move around a lot into different types of circles. So a lot of people have twisted Prince and I reporting. Also, the fact that we've broken in news countless of times along with our source, and the fact that we also give credit to the think tank and audience members if they come up with something. We gave Night credit. We've given people on X credit like we're about to do with Hayden. I mean, a lot of people connected the dots that Ghislaine Maxwell is connected to the Hayden story. Prince and I didn't come up with that, but we're going to talk about it. Or like even what Prince brought up earlier, the Kobe LeBron theory has been out for a long time. But what people in corporate media will do, and also and some people in independent media who's trying to get into that space, they'll take and steal to try to seem like they're fucking high IQ and intelligent by taking other people's theories, making a video or monologue on it, and then acting like it's them. It's not you, player. And y'all gotta stop with that fraudulent type of fucking energy. It doesn't make you cool. You're a poser. And if you're in the independent scene talking against what industry Mr. Smiths are doing, make sure you don't become a Mr. Smith yourself.
Okay, so I wasn't expecting all of that. That's all I'm just saying. All right, man, you got down, son. Appreciate that. All right.
Fresh out the bad break the bad boy.
All right, that's crazy. Hey, man, you know what? Since we're going to be doing that, we're definitely going to be transitioning. I guess we'll put the Hayden Panettiere story. We're going to make that one third. I do, since we're talking about journalism, I do want to transition to the NABJ versus Stephen A. Smith. But before that, I'm just going to talk about KJ Forever. He says, "All right, Prince, your queen sin done held you down. It's going down." And she says, well, he says here, excuse me, you can't mute her mic for the rest of the stream. I'm not muting her mic for the rest of the week. All right. So, all right. No, Sid, you got off. I really don't have much to add on to what she's saying here. I agree 100%. You know, also shouts out to ours too, by the way. We appreciate you so much. They said Kanye West. Yeah, I don't really have much to add on. I agree with her wholeheartedly. I just think, you know, for me personally, it's not even I've never tried to work in the spaces when we early on got some looks from some of the guys that y'all like that are, they got their platforms up and running out of the industry. It's more of a, like in itself, it's a salute, and we keep pushing. But, I'm not working hard to get into anybody's space or anything like that. I enjoy what I do with Thought Crimes and the Think Tank and Sin and Be More and everybody else. So it's not that, it's not that type of party for me. And plus, not only that, a while ago. I kind of saw, surveilled the scene. I was like, got to get the fuck out of here.
I mean, yeah, because it's like, even like some of the people who calling out other people, y'all all do the same thing. Some of y'all suck the skin off of Drake's dick. You suck the skin off of Kendrick's dick. You suck the skin off of Jay-Z's dick. And then you have the audacity to come out here talking shit. Y'all all do the same thing. And y'all don't credit people. Many of y'all have a boo-boo. What's his name from Aladdin? Abu?
Yeah, boo.
Y'all have Abu fingers.
Yeah.
You have a boo-boo hands.
Right.
And y'all coming out here talking about this. It's very bizarre because it's like that meme when you see the Spider-Mans pointing at each other.
Was it two? It was two Spider-Men.
It was three.
Oh, it's three.
They turned it from 2 to 3.
Yeah, okay.
And you see them pointing at each other, and it's like the people who are pointing fingers are doing the same thing. We have never stolen from anybody. Like, if somebody sent us information and we didn't know who the source was, and I remember one time, even a couple of years ago, someone's like, "Yo, this is our video." I'm like, "Oh, someone sent."
Yeah.
We said, "Oh, someone sent this to us," and even when our audience started to attack the person, we're like, "No, that person is fair. This is their shit."
Yes.
Thank you for letting us know that it's yours, because we didn't know who came up with this. We were just reporting on it because someone sent it to us on X. And a lot of people don't have any integrity in the media space at all, including the groupies who are in the independent space trying to rush into mainstream media themselves while pretending that they're not. And if you are rushing into mainstream media, that's actually fine. Just don't be doing the same shit that the people you're crying about have already been doing in this space. And our audience already know the stories that we've already, and theories we've came up with organically, and the things they came up with organically. And people in mainstream and sometimes even in alternative media biting up everything. Like, also Prince is going to be doing a documentary on the blog era, because when a lot of people have been crying about Drake and Kendrick and Cole, Prince did a lot of great points breaking down the blog era and why that was so important when it came to breaking in new artists at the time, even going back to Soulja Boy and MySpace and different things like that. So he comes up and breaks down a lot of amazing things in hip hop that I see a lot of niggas copying off of, especially because a lot of times I just try to be nice to people. Because, I'll share people's stuff even though I don't have much time to watch majority of hip-hop media. I just don't. And not just hip-hop, other things as well. I'm doing too much time researching, too much time on my spiritual studies, too much time on my art, working out, all these other things, being with family. I don't have time to watch the majority of content creators. But if I see someone in a moment and if I like something from them, then I'll be like, "Oh, y'all, check this person out." But the weird thing, though, about some people, you give them a compliment, and some of these people run off, again, doing this weird Apatow shit with Prince or with this platform, and I don't fuck with it. And y'all in the audience have seen it. Y'all have seen even people twist our reporting or information we've broken in and twisted and made it just about Drake while biting up our talking points. Or Kendrick and so on and so forth. Even what we're going to be breaking down with Tommy Dorfman, because we're going to have him back on with Live Nation and also with the Rock Nation situation. We're going to be coming once again with credible information as we did with the Live Nation story with Tommy Dorfman. And, even with what you see, even with mainstream media, people try to gaslight us when we broke the story that there's going to be a title fight between Jay-Z and Drake and media. A long time ago, nobody was saying that. And also, we talked about our source, too, when our source told us, "Yo, R. Kelly's in the club. He's acting up." We said, "Guys, look, R. Kelly's at the club acting up. This is what our source told us." And our source was right. And this source that we have, too, he be right on a lot of things as well, and we give him credit. I don't know if he want his name to be exactly said.
He said no.
Right, but
he said no.
Any day, if he ever changed his mind, we'll say his name directly of the things that he came up with. But I'm really tired of a lot of these fucking liars, and eventually they're going to start getting called out. You keep biting off of our fucking platform, you're going to get called out. Because we don't want to make this shit about other YouTubers is one of the things that Prince predicted years ago, where he said people on YouTube and hip hop media they're gonna run out of content, and then they're gonna make stories about each other all fucking day, which is already has happened.
All right, you're right about that. So, look, it is what it is. I just think I agree. I don't really have much to add on to it without kind of sounding like a rambling man, right? But, it is how the game is right now. But realistically, I think there's I think a back end of it, I will say, because this is centered around hip hop, and hip hop is not built with bands. It's not built with groups even anymore. We don't even have really Wu-Tang type groups. We don't have, the Brockhamptons. We don't have, the ASAP Mob, any of those things, right? So it's kind of just centered on, one person's ego, braggadocious energy. And I think by and large over the years, the hip hop media has become that as well. And especially when we get rid of actual magazines. We're getting rid of actual literature. So you take away literature, you take away magazines, you take away the feeling of turning pages, looking at the photos, the beautiful photographers that captured some of our favorite artists in beautiful lighting, or even in their ugliest moment, like with Tupac in the straitjacket on the Vibe magazine. I'm not saying he was ugly himself. I'm talking about just what he was experiencing was an ugly moment that was pretty legendary, right? And I think because you take a lot of that away, a lot of what we classify as journalism today, in many regards, is just a subgenre of influencers, and that's cool, but
even the journalists themselves, they are a part, like they are all the way with Rock Nation, or all the way with this one, or all the way with that one.
Well, yeah, because the journalism has become too personalized now. It's too much of the emotional input, in a sense, not saying about your due diligence of going through and breaking down, or at least categorizing your emotions where you can express in a think piece, an article, things of that nature. But it really is just about who people don't like at this point anymore. I remember the first time. I do remember the first time too, by the way. I saw it. I think, just to say this, highlight Elliott Wilson in this moment. The only reason why I remember one time, he stood out to me when I was like an early teenager in his writing is because it was very emotional and personalized. Like he said he was riding with Jay-Z, or he thought Jay-Z just won, and here's why. Nas may have been the man of New York for 1 year. And I thought the writings at the time, I thought they was pretty funny in the sense of like New York energy, right? So you would see people from prison writing back, yo, fuck Elliott Wilson. He don't know what he talking about. Nas won. But where we are today, I'm not even saying that you have to, because we have had, talented, people that stepped into journalism, or at least investigative reporting, and they don't come from, a communications background.
Yeah, Ariel Smoke gave him credit too when he, broke in things. And like what you said, a lot of people right now, they don't necessarily have to have that background. Although we're not saying that, of course, having journalistic skills and going to school for that is really good. But many of them in hip hop media are not doing their job. Even what happened with Jason Arday. They're going after a lot of journalists who didn't do their due diligence to find out who the guy who is for who's a eugenicist didn't even do a background on him before biting up all his points.
No, you're right. What we do have is a lot of yellow belly journalism, and it's just really about smear campaigning in general. If you go back to Coker, or even went back to some of the earlier writings of Michael Eric Dyson when he decided to, write a piece concerning hip hop, or when he wrote, Again, I disagree with Michael Eric Dyson through the battle, but I didn't go as far as to undercard him. I had a light roast with him. He responded online. That was it. We didn't block him. He didn't block us. We just disagreed. But I didn't go on a furthering tirade against Michael Eric Dyson every day. And I typically see that from a lot of people is that, because Michael Eric Dyson disagreed and he felt that, Drake was the stronger artist, or he felt he was more favorable in his personalized opinion. He made it clear what he personally thought. And I disagree with, some of the hearkenings of the, the dog whispering about anti-Semitism and all that type of stuff. But those are points that, Sin and I just highlighted. But we didn't go and make 20 videos against Michael Eric Dyson. And then we said, this is journalism, what we're doing.
Well, yes.
And I'm seeing a lot of that go on, just in the media. And, to her point, I do see a lot of, crazy stuff. And I just whatever, we're going to, kind of focus on what we do. But I don't disagree with what you said.
We dissect things.
Right.
Our audience will dissect things. We'll break
Right.
something apart.
Yeah,
we'll talk about
absolutely.
it. And then other people, like you said, with the Michael Eric Dyson thing, they didn't know what the fuck to say to Michael Eric Dyson.
No, they did. That is true.
Break it apart. We say something. The audience say something. The think tank say something. Then they go off, make 50 videos, simplify it so it makes it lose its authenticity and the complexity of what was said. Simplify it on some McDonald's shit, but then start crying about Drake being McDonald's while you're being McDonald's too, because you're taking something that's complex and you're trying to simplify it because you feel the audience will digest it if you just make somebody the villain and the hero in a very simplistic terms, and that's it.
Yeah, I think at the time, and I guess for Sin and I, we come from an open dialogue culture. We grew up, C-SPAN. We grew up, people that disagree, even on the streets in Atlanta, moving around. You had some people that were like, I remember seeing, two grown men, having a heated discussion who was the better lyricist, CeeLo or 3 Stack. And they was like, man, I'm telling you, 3 Stack is that boy. But he ain't fucking with that short bald nigga CeeLo, right? And I would see these things, and that's what made hip hop very fun to me. I was very clear to you all in 2025. I had nothing personally against Kendrick or Drake. I just wasn't having fun anymore when people wanted to be stringent. They wanted to be very tight ass about something, and it's like, bro, we jaw jacking here. Like, realistically, this shit between two millionaires that will have a boxing match in a gated community that many people can't get to, it don't mean nothing in the grand scope of things. But yeah, even like some of the side pockets, and I think about this energy where we are, it is a strange place because we're seeing it in hip hop, but of course we've seen it in political media as well.
That's why you see the Agent Smiths.
Yeah.
And when you see people start parroting each other, the same thing, whether it's right or wrong.
Right.
You see them parroting. Now, sometimes the parroting is coming from a smear campaign, but sometimes the parroting is coming from somebody organic says something, right or wrong, it's just authentically their opinion or the research they did. Then the Agent Smiths will see it and clone it. So, for example, Prince's organic engagement with Michael Eric Dyson, well, now it's to be cloned. Some of the things and theories that people in the think tank have come up with, whether it's Night or Ariel, whoever, then someone sees it in the audience and then it's cloned. So this is the thing that they're doing. Of course, the mainstream gatekeepers in hip-hop media, they all do it. But I'm sure y'all notice the independent people who are trying to get in there or compete while still using the same Mr. Smith tactics that they're crying about the hip-hop mainstream media doing. They're doing it themselves. And also sometimes people are late to the party. It's like many of y'all should have went after Charlemagne a long time ago in independent media when we told y'all about his sloppy ass and what he was doing with Jessica Reed. But nobody cared about Jessica Reed. You care about Charlemagne now because he's made some of y'all a target. But the moment when Jessica Reed needed help, we saw everybody turned against her. Choke No Joke turned against her, saying, yeah, she just wanted to give it up to Charlemagne. People in independent media who thought they was going to get a deal with Charlemagne or something turned against her. The list goes on and on and on. Remember that golden chariot that people are trying to ride on. It's not only for the people who are already on it in mainstream hip-hop media. It's also for the people in independent media who want to get on there as well. You're jaw-jacking and complaining and crying because you want to be seen by these people and validated by them, not because you care about the information that you are delivering. It's like people like, Rock Nation, Rock Nation. Okay, we've been said that Nicki Minaj wouldn't get along with Jay-Z, and we said it in 2018. Probably wouldn't be a good idea for her to be on Tidal. Now, to give credit to people, whether you like people or not, or whether we like a person or not, we always give credit. One of the first media platforms that wasn't biting on Tidal was Academics.
Yeah,
I'll give him credit on that.
He
didn't
bite in that too.
and he was happy that Drake didn't go over there with Tidal, right?
Yeah, he was praying. Even
though we know he's biased in pro Drake, but he admits that bias. Just like people was gonna give Charlemagne that credit, but he keeps like going in and out of admitting that he's 100% with Rock Nation. So he's, constantly playing games. But for example, people give Memphis Bleak credit because we know he's biased. We know, you're Jay-Z's homeboy. You fuck with Jay-Z like that. So when there's a moment of Memphis Bleak saying something that's truth, when he's not lying, when he says something that's truthful, we like, all right, you in his camp, but at least you said something honest, But going back to some of these things is like people now want to, and it's human nature, but people now want to say something when it's you. So when Prince and I say, yo, all these media platforms, mainstream, they're all gatekeepers. They don't want this to be open source. They're all gatekeepers. Y'all got to be careful with that. People were on their platform. People were playing with them. People were trying to be seen by the big three and Jay-Z and Beyonce and all that, Prince and I have gotten blocked by all camps because we're not worshiping Drake, Jay-Z, or Kendrick, or whoever it is, Just like some people unblocked us because they saw, okay, we're not being biased, we're fair. Like when we told, from our personal opinion, we said, look, The Fall Off is a good album. A lot of the J. Cole people who had us blocked, they unblocked us, okay?
They did.
Because, but we're not trying to suck up to their camp. They may block us again in the future if we have something that we want to roast J. Cole on. But for right now, we're unblocked. The whole point is this platform has already talked about a lot of these things. And then even when people try to do their shadowy recruitment, and then they get mad when we don't want to be recruited. To be recruited is to sacrifice truth, which is fine for people who want to do that. But Prince and I like being able to talk about a story, whether we think it's fraudulent or not, if a lawsuit happens with somebody in Kendra's camp. Like the one that came out recently about, 1,000 Miles, or
he's suing
the
producer that did the song for Kendrick because he said he should have co-authorship.
Or somebody who comes and make allegations towards Drake, whether it's true or not, or Jay-Z or Nicki or Beyonce, whatever. We like to freely talk about it without a handler. You guys shouldn't talk about that. Man, you better be quiet.
That's too
that
much,
that shushing culture.
Yeah, it's too much energy, and I get irritated a lot, with that type of stuff. Like I've already been in studios with rappers, and niggas have tried to tell me what to do, and it's come on, get out of my face, you go talk to the strippers that way, you get what I'm saying? But hip hop media in itself, I do think I just think there's a lot of insecurity, I think overall, because it's not formed or pre-made. It's not something to step into at this point like it is. Like, let's say you walk and you submit an application in the late 90s to the Source magazine or Double XL or the now defunct Ozone. There's more free forming here. Form follows function. And so with that being the case, when it comes to being able to create your own identity, I think for a lot of people there's insecurity there. And everybody has patterned themselves off of someone at the beginning to at least get an understanding of what the form or a form looks like, because we have our mothers and fathers, we have our aunties and uncles, we have our cousins, some of us have big sisters, big brothers, we have our friends, women, men, our comrades, right? But I think in this situation, because there's this centeredness around celebrity, I think that also further distorts insecurity. Look, realistically, y'all, when we broke the information about Jay-Z and Drake, what was going on, and that
we broke that story, yeah.
Yeah, and that was going to be a fight. We actually said 3 things in succinct order. Cassie's collecting evidence on Diddy.
Broke that story.
That's still up on our YouTube here, right? We also said that Diddy was going to take the fall first, and then they were going to go to Jay-Z. Now, the only thing about it with some of us in hip-hop, quote-unquote, media, we're honorary niggas. We're very honorary niggas. And you know what an honorary nigga is when you write, they don't say anything. I don't really look. I celebrate myself. I celebrate sin. That's what I do, right? But at the same time, though, I do laugh when people say, well, I've been said this about Diddy or Jay-Z, to show you how, like...
You've been said nothing unless you're Eugene Dill or the people who are
Yeah.
actually in the inner circle. Then yes, you did. But if you're not those people, you did not.
Yeah, Gene Deal, like, he knew Diddy. He saw Diddy buying dildos at the sex shop. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm not... But outside of those spaces on YouTube, Sid and I we broke the story early on about what was going to take place. And you can go back to any of our videos. We said it's going to be Diddy first and then Jay-Z.
Well, just to take
Right.
a list here to your point, Prince. And also, like you said, I don't care if our names aren't mentioned. Just don't take what we say and try to monopolize on it and think is what you're saying. It's not your intelligence.
Well, just to
Go
say that.
find your own shit.
And I'm just putting this out here just to preference something for you guys to understand. Sid and I broke the story about R. Kelly being in the club with a dusty mink coat. And
From our source, yeah.
From our source, right? And then we also had a situation where early on we said you guys should pay attention to Cassie, Diddy first, and then Jay-Z. And then even in 2024, we said that Jay-Z's going to look to have his name in the stories, and Busby's going to go for Jay-Z first.
We said Tony Busby live.
Yeah, we said that live, and people were stuck on, the breaking story at the time, because you had 2 breaking stories. You had Kendrick versus Drake, but then you had the SWAT team kicking in Diddy's doors in all of his compounds all over. And so we beeline to that, and then we said Jay-Z's going to be the first name that Busby is going to call. Look, I do know how sometimes niggas can be. They're no different than if you have a new haircut, they'll hate on you. You get what I'm saying?
While copying off of it.
While copying, a nigga come in with the same Mooncrest part in his head, but he was trying to snap on you with his dirty breath in the cafeteria.
Yeah,
we all been through that.
Charlie Sheen being bisexual and allegedly in child pornography, also possibly with R. Kelly from a source. The first part has been proven. We'll see if the second part ever comes out, but he did eventually admit it to being bisexual.
And he said in his memoir that he came out because gangsters was trying to extort him.
And okay.
We'll
say that for Patreon.
You would say that for Patreon.
Drake diss record that wasn't released. Now, Jake Prince touched on it. He said there was a diss record towards Pusha T that never was released. Don't know if it's true or not, but we reported on it, and that came from a source.
Also, can you
and
say...
that source, I believe the source, when the source told us that Drake did have a diss record that wasn't released.
Here's the thing. I want to touch on that. A few of these, when you list them, I just want to break one part down, add a little. Okay, when Sid and I had said this, in our source and the information that we heard, we even know which sample he used, right? And
It was on some Tupac energy.
that, and You Can Hate Me Now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it was You Can Hate Me
now,
Now,
there was
the
supposed to be a
unreleased disc record. Yeah.
So
yeah.
when we
You Can
said
Hate Me
that,
Now.
there were people that was like, y'all lying. And literally not too long, like I would say either the next day or 2 days later, Jay Prince himself was on a podcast and he said there is a diss record. We heard where Drake was going with it. We said this is going to go into the streets. So I had Drake to can the diss record. Sid and I was not lying to you all.
He said, "We not going in there with the pigs and the
hogs."
All right, the next one, 50 Cent betting on Drake, working with Drake. People said that's not true because 50 Cent was over there with Top Dog. We said, look, 50 Cent is a businessman. He has issues with Jay-Z. He saw the NFL thing, fanatics and all that. He feels that he needs to position himself with somebody who isn't over there, because we did talk about how Kendrick and TDE and the rest of them allegedly was working with Roc Nation in partnership. We said that back in 2024. But most of our Drake takes were the most popular, and people were spiraling out of control because of that.
Oh, Jay Anderson said he was in the R. Kelly live. He said he remembers that. Yeah, shouts out to Jay.
So we even Ray Vaughn and them, even in the battle, they used the 50 Cent reference a lot, because we also talked about 50 Cent and Joey Badass, and so many people basically talked about that. To give credit again when credit is due, though, Justin Hunt did mention us saying 50 Cent was we talked about it first, about the 50 Cent Drake thing. Assassinations inside job on Trump. We said that before this assassination happened. We had a 2020 or 2019, whatever. We had a video where we said it's going to be an inside psyop. And again, if the only people who may have said that before us is if we had politically astute people who may have written books or stuff. So if anybody has information on that, we don't have no ego on that. But in hip hop media, we were the first ones to do that. Jay-Z setting up Drake, and Drake being Julius Caesar. We said Drake being Julius Caesar multiple times. 2018, and then also we said it again in 2024.
Oh yeah, the Last Dance. When we talked about that Drake is going to be having some trouble real bad, in the public space where he's going to get cut up. This is right before, like, I would say maybe that week, Pusha T goes off on Drake publicly, and then everybody drags Drake.
And remember, a lot of people have eaten off of our theories. Like, people keep talking about the obvious people who keep hip hop media circulating. A lot of these motherfuckers wouldn't have nothing to talk about if it wasn't for our theories and some of the shit that we be breaking, and our audience members as well. But let's continue. The P. Diddy takedown, and like what you already said about Cassie collecting evidence on Diddy, we talked about that. Snoop Dogg apologizing to Gayle King by Wednesday.
Yeah, says he was going to apologize to Gayle on Wednesday.
And he did.
He apologized to Gayle on Wednesday in his mother's scarf. Yeah.
The industry coming after Jay-Z after the takedown of Diddy, which you just brought up.
Yeah.
The rise of the alt-right and alt-left in hip-hop. They conveniently keep biting up the alt-right part, but nobody's talking about the alt-left part in hip-hop as well.
Ben Shapiro will tell it.
Yeah, the Wyoming sabotage of Drake and the war between Drake and Jay-Z. Now, this one, there are a lot of people who made predictions about Tory Lanez and, people on the academic side and all that. We're not taking credit for that. But what we're taking, where our credit comes in is we said Tory Lanez was going to prison when most of hip hop media thought he wasn't going to go to prison.
No, we said he's going to prison.
Beamer also, did the astrology reading for everybody with pertaining to Megan Thee Stallion's chart. But anyway, we said Tory Lanez going to prison no matter what y'all think.
Yes.
Whether he's guilty or not, I mean, that's up for discussion if people want to have that. But he's going to prison. We also, on the Patreon, I made a prediction that he was going to get harmed in prison. And I made that prediction before Wax said, Tory shouldn't run his mouth because he could get hurt. And that prediction I made and talked about Amber Rose and people in the alt-right trying to help break Tory Lanez out of prison. That story was broken here on this channel and on our Patreon first before anybody else. The West Coast takeover of media and the industry trying to take over independent media. We broke the story that the West Coast was trying to, fix
through a corporate fashion.
Yeah, fix the mistakes they claim. Fix the mistakes that they made with Tupac. They wanted the West Coast media to be able to take over the East and the South, and TDE and all that. PG Lane. We talked about that in 2024, and it's on the Patreon for if people want to check it out. We broke that story. So the West Coast takeover. Epstein connection to Diddy and hip hop. Now there are many journalists who already talked and broke down Epstein in the industry. Period. We talked about those great journalists when we talked about Woody Allen, because we researched. We went and read articles and books on people who talked about Woody Allen being a alleged trafficker. And in 2016, we broke the story in hip hop media because all the people who keep saying they know about Ghislaine and Jeffrey in hip hop media now, the people who are supposed to be journalists, none of them talked about that in 2016. Even the ones that were plugged into mainstream platforms in hip hop, they weren't talking about that at all. This is why when people try to tell us what to talk about with Epstein, with anybody in hip hop, like, fuck off. Y'all weren't interested. You're only talking about it now because you're trying to protect people that are hip hop artists that pay y'all bills. The Game dissing Rick Ross. We're not from the industry. And Prince and I both made that prediction. We felt just based off of the Game psychology that he was going to do that.
Oh, yeah. You also forget that we said that Game at some point was going to be told to sit out.
By a blood mother or something like that, right? The Game and Kendrick Lamar beefing. A lot of people told us we were insane about that, and anyway.
Well, because that's a still developing.
We said that in 2024 as
story that makes sure it has to go in a different direction, right? But yes, we did say early on. Look, there are some things that we could say that Game isn't necessarily wrong about, but also we do know that there's a grander sensitivity of the matter too. But when people come out and say that folks are lying, I say there's nothing to lie about.
Pusha T, the story of Adidon corporate hit on Drake's business deal. We broke that story. Nobody else did. Where we said the story of Adidon is also to fuck up Drake's business deal,
which it did.
Which it did.
Yeah,
a lot of the people who compete with Drake, they do be trying to fuck up his business deals. Academics and Charlemagne will have a fallout. We broke that years ago. We just felt that Charlemagne is a dark teacher, a dark mentor. He was the first one who validated academics from the industry, and he took a liking to academics. But we also understand Charlemagne's psychology, and eventually student will become teacher himself and become a competitor, and that eventually they will have a competitive fallout with each other.
Yeah, like a yo-yo dynamic.
J. Cole will quit the battle. I mean, that was
live.
That was live.
Yeah.
We said also Drake having issues with the industry in Atlanta, whether it was for a moment or long term would depend on if Future and Drake made up, they did business wise. And that was before Not Like Us dropped, by the way. So when we said the eviction out of Atlanta and also, basically Drake having issues there, but if him and Future piece it up business wise, everything will just go back to same old, same old. We predicted that before Not Like Us came out with Kendrick doing the whole thing about Atlanta. Also, next one, Tony Bugsby. Prince already mentioned that.
Yeah, Tony Bugsby, we said in December that he will be going after Jay-Z.
Jay-Z dissing Drake at the picnic, and also there was going to be subliminals towards Drake at his concert. We broke that news. A lot of people was like, I predict. First of all, we didn't even predict shit. A source told us that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, when Prince and I come up with something organically, we say it. If it was somebody else, we say it. Just like when we said Night Night, he told us that Drake and Cole were dissing Kendrick, and there's a lot of stuff that Night Night came up with that we gave him credit for.
Yeah. We talked to Night Night. We actually, in some of our live streams, we get he goes by Madman if y'all see him in the chat. We actually, just to show you how triolistically we are, we put Night Night's name in the title. So whenever Night Night told us something, he went in the title, and I think he was talking to us, and then he was talking to what's his name at the time.
Industry people flooding the independent scene said that like 8 years ago that they were going to do that. They're going
to come
bring the same drama and bad behavior that they had in the mainstream hip hop industry. They're going to bring it to the independent space.
Yeah, because they said the money wasn't circulating, funding investors, and people weren't putting money into properties in hip hop as much 8 years ago.
Record labels and big wigs execs buying independent music platforms and all of that. We said that a long time ago. Obviously, you see what UMG and the rest of them are doing.
Yeah, Warner, Sony,
and
all that. Yeah.
YouTubers and hip hop media turning on each other and turning each other into content.
Yeah.
Said that like 4 years ago or something like that that was going to happen. Prince said that one. And there's a lot more, that we have said and talked about and broken into the mainstream. And a lot of the people in the mainstream, hijack also jokes and all that other type of stuff too. A lot of people were, even with a lot of the J. Cole jokes, a lot of people were biting off of our platform, or even some of the Drake stuff with the Snow Walker. It's crazy, how desperate people are and how much they don't have their own identity. I expect this, though, from hip-hop mainstream media. The people that I'm side-eyeing the most is those who are supposed to be independent media who are crying about mainstream media doing the same thing.
Yeah, but, if you ever be in a room, I don't personally like being in a room with stand-up comedians. It's not my forte because it's just like, they Velcro fingers, and it's like, bro, that was a conversation. You really went on stage after we had a conversation. Yeah, so, guys, I was just at a quickie, Mark. I'm like, nigga, what? Nigga, I just told you that story. So, you be in the studio sometimes with rappers, they can lift concept bars. They kind of have the same ruling planet. So you're going to kind of see that non-conformity going on with identity. But, yeah, look, folks, it is what it is. Like I said, I mean, outside of somebody, getting fresh directly, competition's in the mirror shouting, and the only thing I can say is that, I don't know how you're going to, when people get tight with us, I'm like, bro, how you going to like compete with something that was said like 6, 7, 8 years ago, when people in independent media, because I think I saw a purging of this around this time, was when people still was trying to get onto the Breakfast Club, when people were still trying to do business with some of these quote unquote outliers of, I would say, the millennial era, young Gen X era. I think, whatever was remaining of the industry, I think COVID really shook a lot of things up. I do believe COVID shook a lot of things up, and I don't think, quote unquote, media or Hollywood for the better part has been the same ever since. But yeah, that's a lot of it, and sometimes people can get so excited. You guys know, even your own personal life, sometimes people can get so excited by you that they come in and they dress just like you. You're like, hey, nigga.
But they're also doing this and paying for clippers. So there'll be a fake Prince Solomon or a fake act like some of the members in our audience. Still make a monologue from the things we say, and they'll pay for a clipper to clip themselves up to be seen. Which is, again, the business model I don't give a fuck about. If you paid to get clipped for something you came up with by yourself, I don't give a fuck. I'm minding my business. We're not one of these platforms where you cry because somebody is like, it's like when people was like saying with Drake clipping Clip Farm so people could come see his Iceman. I'm like, what are he supposed to do? He's going up against UMG. That's smart. Or like when people cry about getting your stuff white lighted, so your shit could be seen and people can interact with it more. Like, okay, duh. If Kendrick or anybody do that, that's great. That means people can, talk about the music without it getting copywritten.
Oh yeah, whitelisting, yes.
Yeah, whitelist. So that's good. But if somebody steals or bite, not just from us, but somebody else, you bite their theory, you steal their shit, and then you paying clippers, you're a fucking poser and fraud, no different from Charlemagne and the rest of them. And also, yes, we did come up with the peekaboo Silent Hill theory, where we talked about GNX and also
Mr. Morale.
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Yeah, Silent Hill. Yeah.
But then you also have people who have their own, theories. There's another peekaboo theory out there where you have Poetic, Flacco, and Trap and the rest of them when they're talking about Draco and YG
the
and
whole
Mustard
Kendrick,
and all that.
Draco, Boogeyman.
Right.
Yeah, there's alternative theories also. Yeah.
Right, and also to make it clear, when it comes to accusations of even with Drake and Triple X, those allegations already been out before we even said anything. Where the theory comes in is talking about the connection possibly of what Kendrick is possibly saying.
Yeah.
From GNX Peekaboo all the way back to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
No,
that's it.
Yeah, and how we did it, we even broke it down to the sample, and I remember getting online and seeing people verbatim repeat what we said right down to the sample because
TikTok, and they do that a lot.
Yeah, I seen niggas with Chicago hats on,
niggas from
LA,
Chinese niggas.
Yeah, oh yeah, the two fat white boys. I think were they two Asians? I don't know what they are.
Asians, whites,
Mexicans,
blacks,
whatever they are. They were repeating what we said verbatim, and I said, ugh, this shit. And I always appreciate seeing where she comes in from. For me, it's just like, what is this fucking Twilight Zone shit? Like, it's just, y'all ever, when y'all was kids, y'all ever held up a mirror in front of a mirror and you see a bunch of mirrors? That's what it feels like to me sometimes. Like, what is this?
We give
Phantom
everybody
Zone shit.
their credit, period. Like, even Dirt with Larry Jackson and Rock Nation.
Yeah, because people's...
And the law firm, he was able to come up with that angle. So, like, I don't care, white, black, Asian. If somebody comes up with something... pro Kendrick, anti Kendrick, pro Drake, anti Drake, so on and so forth. If you want to try to change things, y'all independent media niggas got to stop crying about the same bad behavior y'all doing and copying that same Mr. Smith behavior from mainstream sources as well.
A little shout out to Ed. E Dizzle says here, once Justin Hunt made that video, I subscribed to you all. Yeah, shouts out to Justin Hunt. It was Justin Hunt, I believe Knox Hill. Because I was familiar with Justin Hunt, but I wasn't really all that familiar with Knox Hill. And a bunch of you all came in and said, hey, he clipped up one of y'all videos and he reviewed it. But I think once it started spreading and, Sin and I saw on the worst end of it about people that I guess they want to form the identity. But I kind of feel like if something has already been broken and it's out there, how I grew up, I would look like a fool if people already didn't seen it. I would look like a fool to act like I started something.
Yeah, just you also give it, credit to Dirt when he talked about, Thought Crimes was the one that Ben talked about Rock Nation and Jay-Z and
what's the Dirt
versus Drake and the setup and all of that.
Yeah, what's the Dirt did he tweeted and he did it on Instagram stories. He said Thought Crimes said that Drake and Jay-Z, there was going to be a public fight with them, and he said these guys have been talking about it for a long time. So, again, people show love, we show love. That's just what it is, but I personally don't have time to try to hide a nigga or two. I'm not that type of person. I've never been. If somebody comes up with an excellent theory or whatever the case is, or they come out with an interesting angle, Sin and I, that'll be like, as much as I disagree with some of the people, even from the old standard of hip hop, give you an example. When we broke down Elliott Wilson, we said we had our criticisms of Elliott, but then when we broke down the other shit pertaining to his career as a journalist, we said, no, you can't take the whole influence of ego tripping and what he was able to put out there for that leads into the blog era.
Yeah, we even gave him his credit for when he came out and everybody dunked on him when he said Future and Drake, they've already made up business-wise.
He was right.
And we said, well, he did call it.
He did call it. We gave him his credit.
And we gave him his credit,
know? Yeah, no, we did. We gave him his credit. So I just don't think as a culture, I don't think we're mature enough to be there yet. I know for Sin and I don't really care, and then when we get into the space of journalism, like we bring up with Wilson, Sacha Jenkins, Sway Calloway, you get what I'm saying? Sway in the Morning, as you guys know him. You know, even when you see a situation where Sway was able to really capture, quote unquote, Tupac's last interview. Actually, y'all know Tupac had a couple more interviews, but Sway did such a miraculous job in that interview. It became legendary. I mean, it's where you get the legendary quotable where Tupac says, all this shit is a nigga kingdom.
It would have been nice, you know, if Sway consistently stay there.
Yeah.
You know, like even that you ain't got the answers.
The Sway, yeah, he had his moments.
And Sway was trying to be a nice sage.
He was like, wait a minute, calm down.
He was like, so gay,
really,
you know.
You kind of like real big. You can
You
kind of
yeah,
do
you
this
could do it
yourself.
yourself. You're very smart.
Don't talk to me. I don't take no advice from niggas that wear head wraps.
Like, bro, you was really mad at Charlamagne. You should have said it to him. That's another thing I don't like about a lot of people in hip hop media as well. They get mad and start barking at somebody else who has more restraint instead of just saying it directly to the person who did it to you. Who like Ye should have went and said all that shit to Two Tones, not wait till he get all riled up and then start yelling at Sway. You know, so that
Yeah, you know, it's just, you know, it's one of those things, and I will say for millennials, I think, you know, I think there's a new space of new journalism. There are people that are still writing articles. There are people that are still writing books on hip hop. So I can't take that away from that. And there is real, genuine, credible reporting, you know, and look, there are some people I do follow that, or I at least paid attention to their channel where they are traditional journalists and they do reporting on hip hop in the music industry, and they don't get that many views, to be honest with you, because they're not playing into like the post Breakfast Club sensationalism. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think that factors into a lot of it. But
that's
go
why
ahead,
I said
Sid.
don't put us in the algorithm with fan pages for Kendrick and Drake. And I'm even tired of being associated with those people. This is our energy. It's been the same energy we have for years. Yeah. But also, even when my thought process, remember when I said I feel like we're in a Bermuda Triangle with Cole,
yeah, you said that.
Kendrick and Drake.
You said
I said that on Blackout streams and all that. Then I've seen everybody else like starting to mention it. They didn't reference, oh well, Thought Crimes talked about it's a Bermuda Triangle, like you know. So a lot of people are desperate to be seen right now. They're thirsty. They'll go to any extremes to get validated. They'll steal from other people in the independent scene. They'll act like they came up with things first when they're not. They're getting into beefs with, you know, people all over the internet. And it's like, it's very simple. You know, if somebody else come up with something first, is you supposed to give credit because you didn't come up with it. And that's why I said when people even talk about Jay-Z being a thief, or people talk about Drake being a thief, or Kendrick, because he had lawsuits with, you know, Rigor Morris and all that, and Drake has had lawsuits and Jay-Z has had lawsuits. In fact, Jay-Z right now is suing an Australian company because they're using his name in reference of teaching kids ABCs. Okay. But the whole point is you cannot throw stones when you also live in a glass house. Another thing, everybody was sharing this photo of J. Cole on X. So I downloaded the photo and made a tweet to it because I didn't know who the original person was. And I was like, yo.
Oh, yeah, you didn't know who the photographer was.
Yeah. Right. The photographer came and he said, this is my photo. Again, people everywhere kept, you know, uploading the photo. So I said, oh, all right, I don't care. All right, if you picked me today, it's just me. I didn't know you were the one who was the photographer. Sure. And then I edited my stuff and I tagged him in.
She did.
As the person who photographed this photo.
Yeah, no, Sin did, and it was correct. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things. But again, you know, there's like, I can understand artists being irritated because, you know, let's be real. It's like the internet is sticky fingers. You put something out there, somebody going to try to take something to, okay, let me repackage this and do it. Oh, I'm inspired by this, that, and third. You know, but also I say there's a classy way to talk to people as well. You know, that individual, they were fine. You know, they just said, you know, hey, that's my photo. And because sometimes some of these people do reach out and they'll say, hey, you know, that's my photo, or I think you're using a part of my song. And the person that's hosting the content, Sometimes they act like assholes, like, yeah, man, fuck off, So I take that into account sometimes when people reach out and they might be a little grumpy. I remember some time ago, somebody was being real tight, and so I addressed them a couple of times. They was being nasty, so I just deleted the shit. I said, all right, ain't no visibility. Let's move on. All right, so it happens, but there is a maliciousness within the media, especially hip hop. And I do see it all the time. I do see niggas that are passive aggressive. And I do see a lot of malicious squares, but like I said, Sid and I, we're going to keep this thing moving.
Like, if someone will be like, no one has ever talked about the execs in hip hop media. That's not true. We have.
Well, years. Actually, if you want to be realistic, let's see here.
People are trying to come off as politicians, so they'll be like,
yeah.
There's never been a platform in hip-hop media that have black women. There's never been a hip-hop media before that have talked about execs behind the scenes. There's no one in hip-hop media before who has dissected Rock Nation. There's nobody in hip-hop media before who has dissected OVO. There's nobody in hip-hop media before that have talked about Tidal and Apple. There's nobody in hip-hop. So these are like political jargons, the slogans, for the audience to be like, oh, so this is something that nobody else is doing. Meanwhile, unfortunately, most of the thing, every time somebody says that, most of the time that's just not true. There are other people. Like, for example, that would be like if Prince and I said, there's nobody before in hip-hop media that talked about esoteric knowledge. That's not true. Professor Griff.
Yeah. Griff, Zaza, that whole culture. Also, what's our boys' names? Red Pill, Blue Pill.
Shout out to them.
Shouts out to them. No,
I remember they also gave us a shout out a couple years ago as well. Shout out to them.
No, so like, I mean, I don't know. I think that's something people got to wrestle with their fucking Liliths. It ain't my call. You know what I'm saying? I don't operate that way. I usually give people their credit. Sin gives people their credit. I've never seen steal. I ain't never seen Sin steal shit. Okay? And so, but sometimes niggas got egos. They got chips on their chest and they got to get knocked around a couple times, even if you show them love, So I've ran into that as well. This is why I'm not all the way that quick to jump out and just say, because, we shout things out and keep moving. I can generate my own attention, So I believe in myself. Sin believes in herself. So it's not that type of party. But to Sin's point, I'm going to put this on the screen for y'all so y'all can see. This was 2 years ago. Now, when we covered the battle, we said which execs want Drake's head. The industry target Drake. And this was 2 years ago. All right. We was throwing out a round of videos. And one of the things that stood out to us, and I did see industry podcasters repeat the point verbatim. All right, hold on here. Some AI generated commercial. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, let me put this on the screen real quick so y'all can see. Okay, so which execs want Drake's head? The industry targets Drake. Now, this was 2 years ago while we covered, if you understand, we covered multiple angles, a lot of different things. There were a bunch of things happening at the same time. But the reason why we was able to do this video, and we covered some other stuff, because Sin and I also heard what was going on with Drake from a source that talked about Drake really do have contractors on his head.
Contract killings.
We knew that Drake, when all of that stuff happened, because it wasn't just Kendrick versus Drake in 2024. When Rick Ross came outside, a bunch of people came outside. And so we felt that Drake was going to, at the very least from what we understood, he felt that that tied into 2017 and 2018 when Sin and I broke the story about Drake and Jay-Z behind the scenes. I want to say this one more time. In 2024, we covered which execs want Drake's head. Now, I get it when people was having fun. They cooked. We cooked on him during the battle about losing and how he lost the battle in itself. But Sid and I also said, well, at the same time, there was a bunch of niggas outside. Kendrick and Drake, we distinctly clarified, Kendrick and Drake always had their issues. But we did say the first time Drake got his head popped, The industry was quiet. We said in 2017, 2018, whenever Pusha T dropped all of that, we said, have you noticed nobody came to Drake's defense at the time?
Right.
For quote unquote all of the favors that he did in the industry. Take this aside with what we're saying. We're not saying Drake was a nice guy. We didn't say Drake was a likable guy, and we didn't say he was biting babies' heads off. We were saying strategically and militarily within the industry, what was going on 2 years ago, this was tied to 2017, 2018, which is what Sin was bringing up as a story that we did break here on Thought Crimes.
We already years ago did a breakdown where we said we don't think there's any good guys in that industry.
Right.
We think there are a bunch of villains, a bunch of monsters, a bunch of bad guys, and very few anti-heroes. Also, for life, we already talked about that already about Drake making the mistake of focusing on Ye. Obviously, everybody saw him targeting Ye, fat neck, and it not going well for him because he was wasting his time with that. And also, too, we already talked about the guy who talked about Drake putting $100,000 out for information. What was his name? Yeah, we gave him credit. He was
I think Cooley Breeze.
Cooley Breeze from
like
Chicago,
that.
whatever.
Yeah, I think Cooley Breeze is Cool Breeze.
Cool Breeze, something like that.
Something like that.
So again,
no, Cool Breeze is from Atlanta. I'm sorry.
He's from Atlanta.
Yeah. No,
Oh, okay.
this guy named Cooley, I think he was either from Chicago.
Yeah, Cooley.
Yeah.
So we already talked about that and gave that guy his credit when he talked about that. Like, again, I don't want people to bring their standums into this conversation because I don't give a fuck about none of y'all stand bases. Okay? I'm just being honest.
Well, we're not here to. I'm not relitigating anything.
Because
Shane and I, we're just saying like
breaking things down. That's it.
Yeah. So I want to just be clear when I'm talking about this. I'm not relitigating anything pertaining to the battle. Your opinion is your opinion, but I only highlighted this video here to show y'all. Hold on, y'all. Something just dropped.
Something just dropped.
Yeah, I only really highlighted this so y'all can understand 2 years ago, we did cover this dynamic, but we said this also tied to the story that we broke about Jay-Z and Drake and Rock Nation, and we talked about Wyoming and why Drake, he shouldn't be out there, and how that energy was weaponized, and then in the weaponization, like Sam brings up, it was going to be used to mess up Drake's financial deals in his rollout. Just
like there was a source who told us because we felt, okay, Kendrick's life was at risk, or people who was trying to get to him.
Yeah, Cooley Bravo. Go ahead. Thank you, Mumu.
People was trying to get to him in a very negative way, like trying to, take his head off, gangs and stuff.
Yes.
So the person heard our commentary on it, and they messaged us, and they said, well, they alleged that we were on point, and that they believe that there are certain execs that wanted Kendrick gone and to make it look like it was a gang thing of how he got killed.
Yes.
So
that is true. That is what somebody. Yes.
Yeah, just like when we talked about 0 to 100, like people skipping over the fact that Diddy allegedly had a contract hit on Drake. So anyway, we've kept it consistent with this stuff. It's just that after 2024, the Stan thing has gotten out of control because Jimmy Iovine doing the super fan stuff, Complex. Everybody feel the way to go, and the new move is to have these groups that fight with each other over power. Let's get rid of non-biased media platforms that are just trying to break stories, whether they like somebody or not, whether they're a fan of somebody or not. They're breaking these stories without being on people's sides, and that is to be removed so we can have platforms that are super fans of certain celebrities where they won't talk about certain stories in hip hop media because they're a super fan.
Oh, you forgot the other one too, Sin.
Mm-hmm.
When Tekashi first came out, we said he's feds.
Oh yeah, we said Shotty's an idiot.
Yeah, we said Tekashi's gonna betray them publicly.
Yeah, and we did break that story first. We did have people from the industry that tried to convince us back then too. People,
nah, buddy.
People
I know what I see.
Yeah, people who he was cordial with, but they was like, when we had a conversation behind the scenes, they was like, no, Tekashi's official. He's not going to betray anyone. And then we had a live show where we had a Baby Blood call in, and he was like, yo, Thought Crimes, I fuck what you show. But look, Tekashi's official. He ain't going to do nothing to us. Yo, I'm Brooklyn, I'm Bronx, all this other
He's
stuff.
a Brooklyn blood.
and Prince and I, we stayed on our square. We everything we said with Tekashi happened exactly. We said that Elliot Grange, and we also talked about the ex-Chicago mayor, his brother
Emanuel.
Ari
Emanuel
was behind Tekashi.
Yes.
And we also said that Tekashi 6ix9ine will tell on Shadi and all of them will go to prison, and they did. And that's
we talking about when Tekashi first came out. We're not talking about people figuring out after Shadi and them get picked up. Sin and I said when Swizz Beatz was running around, everybody was having fun with Gummo. Said the boys feds.
And this was from no source. To us, we was like, this shit is just obvious. I was like, you got Ari Emanuel stuff. He talk about nigga, he not black.
Yes.
I don't fuck with no new hoes, all this other shit. I'm like, bro, this is a guy who's a fed, obviously, because he's connected to Ari and them and Elliot. So come on. So anyway,
that was that was an aggressive push. 6 years ago, we broke up and we talked about the woke economy. Boy, I can't even. I don't even know what to say half the times because actually I have to go back through it because Sin a lot of times she'll sift through and she'll bring things up and she said, you said this, right? Or did you know I said this? And I was like, wait, what? Or sometimes I'll have to grab some old footage or whatever. But I'm like, oh yeah, we did talk about that. We broke down what was going on with the woke economy 6 years ago. 6-7 years ago. This is before it becomes a pejorative publicly.
No one was talking about the woke economy. Nothing. We broke down how there were black people in Hollywood pretending to be woke while being backed by alt-right conservatives, alt-left liberals, and progressives. And in the art, they were being very woke, but their business practices and how they treat the black community wasn't aligning to any of those things. So we broke that down with the woke economy. Eventually, we turn around. Right-wing think tanks are talking about woke. White liberals are talking about woke. And then also now people are finally talking about people who are fake woke. That's something, because it's not just in hip-hop where we broke things down. We've breaking things down politically as well and been ahead of certain things. And also give credit to authors that we've studied and read who have predicted a lot of this stuff themselves.
Yeah, so we talked about thought crimes. We said we talked about Tekashi is a Fed industry plant, and we shouts out to New York niggas, but a lot of y'all was reaching out to us, and I said, please, y'all ain't got to be this thirsty. You got Casanova, but then he went to prison. And then the whole debacle with Tekashi 6ix9ine, and then we said that's going to track way for a new type of personality.
We also said Lord Jamar and the rest of them will make up with VAT TV.
Yes, we did say that.
We said we call it a toy cot, and people got mad at us.
A toy cot, I remember that. I remember that.
Where we had Farrakhan on the thumbnail, we wasn't saying Farrakhan anything negative about Farrakhan.
No,
we were saying that Godfrey, Lord Jamar, and the rest of them, they trying to get everybody to boycott VAT TV and waste black people's time, knowing damn well years later they're gonna be cool with him again. That ended up fucking happening as well.
So, look, you all, like I said, we do something just a little bit different, and that's okay, but I don't.
Well, now people want to try to compete with us in that predicting lane and all the other shit.
Yeah.
Again, I don't care. Come up with your own fucking predictions, though. Don't be stealing predictions from people in our audience and from us. Go away. Go find your own shit, and people will give you credit for it. Don't come over here trying to act like you're predicting anything when you're not. You're just being a fucking weirdo.
Well, just to say this, and like I said, now we're gonna transition to Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, I thought we was gonna do Hayden at the.
Oh, I told you. I said because you was talking about journalism. I said we're gonna go to Steve, and then we'll go to
Hayden
Panettiere, right? And I'll just say this: look, bro, like we can run the evidence down. There's like you would literally have to do some flashpoint shit. You would have to go back 8 and 7 years ago if you're talking about quote unquote, I guess a competitive identity theft dynamic. The only reason why I'm making the statement because when Sin and I were saying these things,
y'all can't.
We stood out.
You can't destiny swipe with us, and you
We-
can't take our shit.
Just to say this too, and we stood out like a sore thumb, y'all. There were people that were more fixated on the fact that, whether they liked certain things or not. Like it wasn't favorable when people were in love with, the whole black excellence shit. Sin and I stood out like a sore thumb.
We always
but we
ahead
weren't.
of
But
the
we
curve.
weren't Republicans too, because we had people accuse us of being black Republicans. I said, no, we're just telling y'all what this is, like, and how this is going to go, and the exact fallout, and everything played very well to a T. Even right now, that's why, like, I had one buddy get swap me online, and he said, "Oh, y'all making up shit." I said, if I'm making up shit, if Sin is making up shit, why have y'all chosen a side? If there is no issue, why is everybody either pro-Rock Nation or anti-Rock Nation? Either they're pro-Drake or they're anti-Jay-Z. Why are the commentators wrapped up in it? If we were making shit up 7 and 8 years ago, and we've been very consistent early on. So, it's cool. It is what it is. I already known better when y'all brought me a fake white psychic. So it ain't no sweat on my brow, but I agree with Sam 100%. You get what I'm saying?
No, the hip hop media community is just too much hate, and if they're not under the nuts of white people, then some of them, like, they try to take other people's identities. Like, Prince and I got strong identities, and so does our think tank. You can't ape up top of, you can't destiny swipe, you can't take our shit, you can't take our jokes and think that nothing is going to happen to you. A lot of people in the political lane and in media and hip hop media have tried to steal from us a lot of times, whether it's trying to take our news reporting morning show that we have to eventually get back to and giving it to a very famous white guy, and it failed. Whether it's Charlie Kirk saying, I'm about to go thought crimes, and trying to use the energy and the dualism that we have and try to use it for him. Well, you were a fucking slave to Israel and you got necked. Whether whoever the fuck it is, Prince and I don't have to sweat too much, because when you try to take somebody's energy and you may not have the same code, Prince may be able to say wild shit and not get shot. That don't mean you. I may be able to say shit and get away with it. That don't mean you gonna get away with it. So when you copying people, you got to be careful, because you don't know what somebody else's code is. That's why Prince and I don't try to be nobody else. There are people who are way more charismatic than us, and they could say all type of shit or be double crossing in business and undercut the black community and stuff, and they could get away with it probably because it's their fucking code. I'm not here to fucking copy off of somebody else and pretend to be somebody I'm not. And y'all niggas gonna have to learn to stop copying and be yourselves.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, so that's the case. We pretty much been accurate and truthful, not arrogant, not boastful. Maybe because hip hop is predicated on being boastful and arrogant, but some of these things we've called have been pretty damn dark. Sin only went through a part of the list. There's some other darker predictions that have come forward. And I don't feel boastful or arrogant about the loss of life either. So I don't really, get any points off of that. But the reality of the matter is unfortunately, once again, the dark execs are in the room and they're running shit, and people aren't focused on that. They're focused on attention. You know what they say, all you got to do is pay people an attention.
Well,
so
speaking about dark execs, Prince, I feel like that's a great segue in going into Hayden, though.
Oh, you want to go? Okay, well, we'll do Stephen A. after Hayden.
This is a very tragic story, and shout out to everybody on X. I'm gonna start giving people credit, because as much as Prince and I have been focusing on Epstein and Ghislaine since 2015, when we first started Thought Crimes together, we had no idea that she was also connected to Hayden. The people in power that were handling Hayden, and people on X, they did some really good job, a really good job on digging up a lot of information. Mm-hmm. And some of that information we're going to talk about right now.
Go ahead, Sam.
Including also what she herself has talked about before her death. So Hayden was on a couple of platforms where she talked about how executives violated her. She talked about what took place on a yacht and mentioned a British singer. Many of them are accusing James Blunt of being that British singer. So let me get to the Patreon post real quick, because we post a lot of stuff on Patreon, because I do want to give these people credit who have been connecting Ghislaine Maxwell to all of this, and some other power brokers in here as well. So Kellyanne, she talked about Diana Jenkins produced the coffee book Room 23 that shows elites posing in a private Beverly Hills hotel and also in a penthouse suite over the course of a year. And in this, they showed photographers with people like George Clooney, for example. Again, if y'all want to see the photos, y'all can go to the Patreon. And let me see who else said something also really important on this. I just want to make sure I get everybody's name who's